Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Power of Storytelling. Today we have Mari Barbieri. She has worked with international marketing with both Atlantic Records and with Sony, and she's been all over the world, and she's a very special guest for today. Don't forget to subscribe below, and let's get right into this. So, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and get this
Yeah.
thing rolling?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I'm Mari. I'm actually originally French Italian, and I moved to New York with, the goal of moving into the music industry. I was actually into a completely different industry prior to moving here. So I came to New York, moved to New York, did my master's at NYU in music business, and then kind of fought my way through to, start working in the industry, get my foot inside. And so then I interned at Reservoir and music publishing, trying to make my way, kind of orientate myself in what I wanted to do, and eventually got into Sony, and then now I'm at Warner Music.
Yeah. So at first, are you from the United States, or were you born actually in Switzerland or somewhere else?
I was actually born in Germany.
In Germany? Okay, it's not
Yeah,
a
yeah,
yeah.
I was.
So
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, so it seems like you've been around the world a lot. So then, is that kind of like what led you into the international marketing side?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think international marketing just makes sense for me, and it's just who I am as well. I mean, I am international, so just having lived around several different countries, I've always gone to international schools, lived and worked in like 8+ countries. It just exposed me to such a large like variety of different cultures and um, religions and views and perspectives. And also in terms of like music markets, I was so exposed to different genres and artists and languages. And so that just kind of helped shape who I am today and my perspective. And I think that the reason why I went into international marketing just really happened so naturally. Um, it's just, yeah, it's my environment, it's what I do, what I am. So really it makes sense.
Yeah. Was there anything specifically about the marketing portion of that that like made you interested in it?
Um, so I really think that I'm also an artist. I mean, myself, like I perform and I sing, and I think that one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful tool in music, is storytelling. And so in order for a song and an artist to do well, like the storytelling has to be solid. It has to be good. And so it's so important that when a song rollouts, an album, an EP, or a single, you have a good storytelling behind it, and that's all part of the marketing, right? It's just like the storytelling that goes, and how you then take that storytelling and promote it and use pieces to promote and branch out and connect with an audience. And I think that there's a lot of creative space there that I really appreciate and that I really enjoy. So yeah, I think that the marketing plus the international kind of just were hand in hand all together, where the both were what really interested me in getting into this field.
Um, would there be any advice you'd give to people that are going into like seeking out similar roles as the ones that you're in right now?
Yeah, I it's a tough industry. It's so competitive and it's so hard to get in. And I remember when I was first trying to get in, I did everything I could to branch out and reach out. And I think the number one advice is that it's much easier said than done, is not to get discouraged. And I guess this applies to anyone in any industry when you're applying to jobs and everything, because it's hard when you're applying and you're not receiving feedback. So not to get discouraged and really believe in yourself and your value. But I think and two other main pieces of advice is like it's so important to connect and build a network. So to reach out, branch out on LinkedIn, on Instagram, maybe Instagram, not if it's like someone you're trying to connect with professionally, but you just branch out to people who are in the roles or in the departments or in the companies that you want to be in and learn about them. It's so important that you learn about them and what you do, and not that you don't just ask something from them, because you can really learn something valuable from their experience. So I would say that's one, um, putting yourself out there. And then the second one is to just, yeah, really believe in yourself and stay true to who you are, what you are. But then lastly, it's so important that you also have a vision of where you want to go. You have to more or less have an idea of what you'd like to do, where you'd like to go, while still keeping an open mind. But in order to, be able to hit up the right people and go to the right places, you have to have a clear path in mind. And so I think that that's like crucial, because otherwise you're just kind of going, blindfolded into it all and not really knowing where you're going, who to hit up. And so yeah, I would say those are my top piece of advice.
Yeah, well said. Like you said, I feel like that's pretty important for almost every industry. Just the being able to connect, not giving up on yourself, and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
so would you, so like when you were in high school, did you envision yourself doing what you are right now?
Um, so funny enough, like I've always wanted to do music my entire life, and I was good at school though, and and like growing up, like music was always a hobby, and like I shouldn't do music and blah blah blah. So I was really influenced to take a certain path, which ultimately was my decision, because my family supported me either way. But so I've always wanted to do music, but then I took a completely different path, went into government affairs, for biotech, so it's a completely different industry. And when I started my first job after college, I was just like, this ain't it. Like, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, I've always been so passionate about music, and I'm very passionately driven as well. So I just felt like my motivation and energy just like completely got like, I just like lost that when I started that job. So I decided to, apply and quit and take a leap of faith and move. So yeah, like I think from a young age, I've always wanted to sing. I've always wanted to be in music. Like that's all I did all the time. And then to come into this field and do this for my job and listen to music and work with artists, which is like stuff that I would do in my free time anyway, was just like the dream. So yeah, I would say like I would have never thought that I would have been in New York right now and been able to work at Warner Music at Atlantic Records like I am now this early on. But um yeah, it's definitely very satisfying looking back. Um yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story. I feel like a lot of times people get pushed into, at least like kids from their parents will get pushed in the roles that they don't specifically really want to do, you know what I mean? And I feel like passion is one of the most important things that there is, especially like yours with music.
Yeah.
So you said you get to work a lot with artists specifically too, within marketing?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Would that be your favorite part? Like, what is your favorite part of the role that you're in
Um, hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. I do love interacting with the artists. I do love interacting with the artists a lot. And since I'm international, I do a lot of like the promo for an interview. Like I help with mediate like interviews for artists like with international outlets. So in different countries in like Latin America or in Europe or in Asia, depending. And it's just cool to see them talk about their journey and trajectory. And just also like in between those interviews, I get to have like one-on-ones with them, have a bit of like banter and whatnot. And just getting to know them as people, just makes it all the more special, especially artists that I like really respect and listen to and have followed for many years. Um, it's just like, I think that's one of my favorite parts. Of course, one of the biggest perks is being able to go to all the live events, all the concerts, and just experience those on the regular, like every day there's something going on. And then what else? And then just putting my creativity to use, like um, I haven't I started this role not that long ago, but eventually like just coming up with different like creative marketing plans, to help like market artists and their work like internationally, um, is, yeah, I think that that's just something that I'm really looking forward to doing even more. So yeah, I would say those are my favorite things.
That all sounds pretty awesome. Definitely jealous. So what would be so like some of the things that you've learned? Like, what have been some key things that you've learned like with your roles at Sony and Atlantic Records?
Um, hmm, what are some things that's such a good, I mean, other than like hard skills, like other than the actual skills themselves, I think, um, wow, that's a really hard question to answer. Yeah, I think, in general, the industry, I think it's once again like just a being in all like these experiencing these different roles. It's like seeing how this industry works and how these people work, and just really learning to kind of navigate your way around this industry. And it's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. You really have to stand your ground. You really have to stay confident. And so I had to find ways to learn to protect that confidence, and that like, um that I, yeah, that confidence that I have and that I had coming in, and also learning to find like your people. um it's so important to be able to find people that you like connect with, also like obviously like professionally, but also like on a friendly basis, that you have like good relationships with people. And I think one of the biggest and most important things in this industry is relationship building. I mean, it's all about the network and connections. So just learning how to approach different people, when and how and for what. And yeah, I think that's has been the most like interesting thing, but also in a way the most challenging, because you really have to find your place in the industry, and like find how to interact with people, but also like, I guess, show people how to interact with you. I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but
Oh, you
I would
are.
say, yeah, that's like the biggest thing that I learned, and that I am still learning. I'm in the process of learning. I feel like I will be for a long time.
Yeah. Would you say that you went to school in New York, right? As well.
Yeah.
Would you say that that helped open a lot of doors for you into the music industry?
Yeah, so I did my master's in New York. That definitely helped. I actually, when I applied to different masters for music business, I had applied to different schools, some in the US, some in Spain, some in London. But New York, just like, the music industry is a bit everywhere, but like some of the top markets, or like at least the most like, which have the most things going on, are like LA, New York. And New York just made sense for me because it was so international. And so, um, yeah, going back to your question, like I think since New York is so international, so big, there's so much going on, like your network grows immensely. Once you get to know someone, you get to know another three people, you get to know those three people, you get to know another three people. It's like it just grows. And I think that I would have never been able to be where I'm at today if I had been, or maybe I would have. I mean, I think it just depends on the work you put in. And that's another thing that I would say is like, it's all about what you make of it. Like, I could have had this degree, but then just like sit back and kind of, yeah, I would have had a good job and everything. But like, you really have to fight your way through, and it's what you make of it ultimately. But New York definitely facilitates that for sure. The people are incredible. The energy is just unparalleled to anything that I've ever known in my life. So, yeah.
I feel like you've kind of said it a little bit, but it seems like the music industry is just very, very competitive, and I feel like being in New York it helped build that, like help you get used to that a little bit, if that makes sense. Just
Yeah.
competitiveness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, so I was also seeing that you helped a little bit with a podcast called Musonomic as well, right?
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you liked about that as well?
So I helped work on this Musonomics podcast, which is basically which is run by one of our professors at NYU as well. And I loved that podcast because it really bled into like my studies as well. And it just explored a variety of different topics and ongoing topics of discussion in the industry, such as catalog, like evaluation, or just like singer-songwriters and like their royalties and what they make, or like um TikTok and like its effect in like the music industry. And it was just like a really good way to kind of explore, like as a group we'd come up as with a topic of discussion that we'd like to explore, and then get into that, find the right people, the right speakers, and then learn more about that topic, and then educate other people on that topic. So it was like a really interesting way of getting to know the topic, but also like sharing that knowledge with other people and further like connecting with like fellow classmates or friends in the industry or musicians. um yeah.
It sounds really interesting and fun. I might have to check that out sometime.
Yeah, you
Um,
should.
yeah.
Should.
Is it on YouTube?
It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's on, I'm not sure if it's on Apple as well, but it probably is. I think it's on like every DSP. It's out. So, but you
Yeah.
could definitely follow it on Spotify. That's where I listen to it. And I
Okay.
still listen to it. I mean, there's like quite a lot of episodes.
Yeah, I'll definitely give that a look. It sounds awesome. Um, so going back, you said at first you went to school to what was it with it was kind of like with laws. You went to law school, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was and so it was actually I was studying international development in close just outside of London at Reading. And it was essentially just like studying the development of lower economically developed countries, and trying to figure out like how to help them develop economically, socially, environmentally. And then that's what brought me into like government affairs eventually
Oh, okay.
in the ag space, in the biotech space. It's like a whole path that in itself. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I studied in my undergrad.
Yeah. You think that all helped you become more successful in the music industry as well?
Yeah, yeah, there's like a lot of transferable skills that I definitely got from that role. One of them includes relationship building. I mean, government affairs and the work that I was doing prior was all about building relationships. And I was working, coordinating with different countries in Europe specifically. So you really have to build a knowledge of and a sensitivity to like the different cultures, the different like language barriers, different like ways of thinking, and that really contributed to like my ability to like build relationships, and that's something that I still use to this day in the music industry, even though it's no longer about like political agendas or whatnot, but it's still it's still valid. And then yeah, I think communication, and then just really learning to work under a lot of pressure is something that has helped me significantly in this role as well. Because, like I said, like even now we delay this call because like our calls, like sometimes there's like last minute things, urgent things, like a rollout doesn't go well, or like there's, um, I don't know, there are always like emergencies or like things that happen that take place. So you have to really learn to work under pressure. And that role and that field definitely prepared me for this field. I will say that.
Yeah. I don't know. It sounds like there's a lot of pressure within the music industry. Do you feel like that helps bring out some more in you? Like, since there is that pressure, it kind of pushes you more than you would normally go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to, I mean, I think it either pushes you like harder or out, like I think
Yeah.
you really have to know how to take that energy and turn it into something positive, because it can get really overwhelming. And maybe it sounds like I'm talking about it like in a stressful way, and it is stressful, but there's a lot of beauty in it. And that's the reason why I'm in this field in the first place. I mean, it's like such a, probably also stressful because it's filled with people that are so passionate about music, and so it's just like so intense all the time. And um but it's like a great and beautiful thing, but it can become a lot. You just have to learn how to like manage that energy and like not let that pressure get to you, but rather like turn it into something productive.
Would you have any advice for like people that were like how to do that? Like how to change the energy from the pressure and push it forward to be productive?
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like that's something that I'm learning to do myself. I think in such like fast-paced, like high pressure environments, it's important to, I always say this to people, like you have to keep your peace and protect your peace. Um, and one of the ways that I do that is just to like, if something goes wrong and like we all mess up here and there and like we sometimes like beat ourselves up about it, but it's so important not to and be like, okay, like, take it as little, like whatever mistake you make, whatever error, like take it as a growth opportunity and take note of it and make sure you don't do it in future. And that's how like I keep my peace, because otherwise like I would beat myself up every day for like all the little things that I mess up and whatnot. And sometimes people will be stressed and take it out on you, and it's important also not to take that personally, because oftentimes it doesn't actually have to do with you necessarily, but more with like what they're going through, or the pressure that they're experiencing. So it's just and that's something that I've been learning along the way, and that has really significantly helped me like just stay like put and keep my peace and move forward and be as productive as I can be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That makes sense. Because you were talking about how one of the key parts is that you have to keep that confidence, right?
Yeah.
In the music industry, are there a lot of people like trying to tear down that confidence in a way, or
Um, no, like when I first came in, I thought that that might be the case, but honestly, like I it's not even that people are trying to tear it down. It's more that it's so intimidating because there's so many talented people, so many people with a lot of knowledge and experience. And it's really intimidating because sometimes you're like, oh my God, I don't know anything compared to these people. I don't have that experience. They know better. And you have these ideas, but sometimes you're hesitate to put your ideas out because they're so great, and it's
yeah,
not necessarily, if anything, like I've been put in environments where people are like encouraging me to share my ideas, encouraging me to give my input, and like once you do, they're like, oh, that's like great, like, but work on that, let's see what like that can become. And so it's actually, I would say, like in my personal experience, people actually try to, so they support you, they try to like bring you up with them, also because it's in their benefit too, it's like a teamwork thing. So like if you do well, the team does well. So no, I wouldn't say like people are trying to tear you down. I meant it more as in like just feel like, feeling confident in your ideas and yourself, and that if your gut is telling you like, oh, I think, this could be a really good idea because XYZ, or I feel this because I'm on social media, I see this all the time, I think that, this marketing campaign would make sense. It's always important to like put your ideas out there because you never know how useful and valuable they can be. I guess that's kind of more how I meant it.
okay, yeah, makes sense. But that I feel like that would be really helpful, just having supportive people around you that always want you to give your ideas. So kind of feel like it makes a better environment for everyone involved, I feel like.
100%. 100%.
So, is there any other advice that you have or anything else that you'd like to share or promote with us today?
Um, yeah, hmm. Not necessarily like directly at the top of my head, but I've always loved reaching out to people. I'm so grateful to all the people that I knew or didn't know that got back to me when I had questions and when I was trying to make my way in the industry. So I guess I just want to also like put myself out there for anyone who has questions and wants to talk about, career advice or mentoring or how to get in and how to, kind of learn to navigate this industry. Like I'm always open to talking. I love meeting people. I love talking to people and helping as well. I think it's you really in this industry, you have to pay it forward. And so, of course I want to do that. So I guess I'm just putting myself out there more than anything.
Yeah. So we all appreciate it. And would you be open to people who watching this video reaching out to you on LinkedIn as well?
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
100%.
Okay. So we'll leave that below for them. And we'd like to say thank you for having you on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much, Logan. This was such a nice talk.
Yeah, no problem. I learned a lot, and I hope everyone at home did as well.
I hope so too. Thank
Yeah.
you. So
Yep, no
nice meeting
problem. Nice meeting you.
you. Thanks.
And that'll be it for today's episode of Power Storytelling. I hope you guys liked this one with Mari. It was very, very, very beneficial to me, and I hope it was beneficial to you guys at home. I think you guys might like one of these videos that should be popping up right about now. And don't forget to hit subscribe below. We have a couple episodes planned for next week, and